And to you, I just plopped in, hey, I'm an open micer, but I'm also living pretty good. It's like, it just doesn't compute. You know?
Yeah, but people are not. I don't know if it's jealous but people just see what they see and they don't think about anything past that. Like exactly what you said. It's like
today we talk about. So now talk to me about like your style of comedy, because I think I've only seen you perform once live.
That was at freestyle.
That freestyle, yeah.
That was I had a weird set that night, I think. I don't know. I feel like I do. That's all. I mean, it's kind of tough.
It's not like you're doing finance jokes.
No, not really. I don't think I have any finance jokes. Money's not funny, It's but no.
Hey.
I take it very seriously. No, I don't know. I do a lot of like autobiographical stuff. I feel like I just have like I don't know what it is, but I feel like I don't know if it's because it's the way I look or who I am or what. But I feel like a lot of just shit happens to me where I'm like, is anybody else saying this shit?
Interesting.
Like people say shit to me where I'm like, are you kidding? Like,
can you give me an example?
I mean, I have a story I tell on stage about how these people came up to me once, and it was a Japanese man and a Japanese woman. They came up and took a photo, and then I was like, whatever. And then after they walked away, the man goes, my wife thinks you have a small face. And I'm like, what the fuck? What? Like, what? So I have a story about that.
So they legit just bum rushed you, took a photo.
So I'm a tour guide during the day, and so at the end of the tour, they took the photo.
I see.
And so like that's stuff like that is like that or.
Is that how you and Tim met? Because he was doing the tour bus tours and shit.
I don't actually remember how we met. I met Tim early on when I moved here, but I don't remember when we met. He took me out to dinner like once or twice. And he was very nice. He gave me a bunch of good advice. He was like, it's not just about doing well. It's about like turning a room. Like, you see comics doing badly. You go up there and you make it a good room. Closing out shows. He gave me a bunch of good advice. But I can't remember where we met. But, yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of like, I don't know. I've done some drugs. I have like drug stuff. I just kind of talk about myself and talk about thoughts and
penises, vaginas, all that classic stuff.
Yeah, but I'd like to think I put my own spin on it.
Well, yeah, obviously I would hope we all do that. Yeah. But I haven't really been doing a ton of that raunchy type material as far as like sexual type shit. Although I have a few things here and there, but I tend to try to avoid that because just from my limited experience in stand up. Again, I'm less than a year into this thing, but from my gut feeling, it's like a lot of those jokes come about because people, especially younger comics who legit don't know diddly squat else, it's like, what else are you going to fucking talk about? Right. This is what you know, your fucking penis. Right. And I'm trying to get away from that because I feel like it shows a sign of wisdom might not be the right word, but it's like, hey, I'm capable of being funny without like resorting to like these like easy, not hack premises, but it's just like, there's so much else to talk about, and no one else is talking about it. So if you're able to talk about it and make it funny, you will stand out because everyone's going to be able to be like, oh, remember the dick joke guy? It's like, which of the 11? You know? Yeah.
And I do think, I can't think of who it is now, but I do think that it's cool to have jokes about things that people don't have. I mean, I have a friend of mine, I forget who it is, but there's somebody, I was just talking to somebody about they have like a joke about an elevator. And it's like a joke I've never heard about an elevator. Stuff like that's great.
Absolutely. Yeah, mundane topics for sure. There's definitely a quality to like putting an interesting spin on it. But then other things. So like a lot of it for me is like medical stuff because like I don't really hear a lot of other medical comedy. And then that's why I was asking you about the finance jokes. Like, money may not be funny, but if you can find a way to make it funny.
Well, I have like a lot of jokes about like being people. To me, this kind of plays into the whole money thing, I guess, is like dating. I've been very lucky and dated a lot of very successful women. So I have a lot of jokes about dating successful women and being successful. And success is like a big theme. I would say lately, success has been a big theme over my act. I have a lot of jokes about. I do have some jokes about money and being, apartments and all that stuff that comes with.
So do you rotate your jokes and just keep it like a steady, healthy diet of the same jokes, or like are you constantly hitting open mics to like try new stuff? Like, what's your process?
I don't go to a mic really unless I have something new to work on, or unless I'm.
And how often is that happening? Like once a week, once a month?
It depends. Sometimes I'll have like something new once a week. Sometimes I have a couple weeks where I'm like, I don't have anything new and I just have to focus on my old stuff. And that's kind of like it's a bit depressed. It depresses me at least a little bit because it's like part of this is a job and it is nice to have something new you're excited about.
Yeah, right.
But it's also good to have like a set a goal for yourself. Like I'm going to Denver at the end of the month. So I'm headlining some shows out in Denver. So it's like I've spent this whole month just trying to get like this 10, you know, like I'm trying to like chop it up and be like, I need to, you know what I mean? Like build an act basically. I'm just building a headlining set. So I just spent the whole, and that's fun. It's fun for me to have a goal where it's like, all right, so I'm going to, by the end of the month, I'll be ready to headline these shows.
Right. And then how are you going about preparing for that? If not by mics, are you routinely on a certain show every week or?
I've just been trying to get as much stage time as possible. So I've done a couple mics. I've done, a bunch of shows. I was on a show last night where it was kind of it made me a little nervous actually because I had to follow Chris Red and he just annihilates.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I got to follow Chris Red. And then they told me I was going to do 7. So I get up there and I'm doing 7 and I'm at 7 and nobody lit me. So I was like, all right, I guess I'm going to keep going. And I kept going and I guess the headliner didn't show up. So they just had me do, like, I think it was like,
telling you.
Yeah. Like I went up there thinking I'm going to do 7 and then they just had me close the show.
Interesting.
Which is fine because it's
Where
like.
was this?
It's a secret loft.
Shit, that's a good show.
Wild Things, yeah.
I think that's where we met, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, with Tim Dillon. It's actually the Wild Things show. Yeah.
So
it's a
good show. I like that show.
Yeah, it was
Kate
great.
Puts that on, right? And,
Kate, Ismail, and was it Ryan Donahue, I think?
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah. Ismail was super funny. I was trying to get him on the podcast. These comics are hard to track down sometimes.
Yeah. It's crazy because there's like a spectrum of like some comics are crazy busy and some comics are like, they don't do anything.
Yeah.
So it's like you gotta,
Yeah, no, it's always a hassle trying to make this happen. There's a lot of like bigger comics that I've talked to about coming on, and mostly it's been to positive like affirmations. But as far as like getting it scheduled and making it happen, it's just like it's been an issue. So I'm
always down to do it for the most part. I don't know. I mean, I feel like
that's the thing I've noticed. I should clarify, and I've said this before, but like it's so much easier to get comics to agree to something like this, as opposed to my non-comedian / creative friends who are just like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, this is stupid.
I don't know. I mean, this like is fun. It feels productive, but it's also like, we don't know each other that well. So it's like, it's a cool way to kind of know, get to know each other. It's very fun.
And when you're hearing other people say like, hey, I talked into a microphone and I make $50,000 a month. It's like, that sounds amazing. Like, why don't I build towards that? I was going to have this conversation with you at some point. Why don't we just record it and then throw it up? Right. It's like, I don't see, I don't know. Maybe I
agree. If people are going to enjoy listening to it, it's like, why not?
Well, here's the thing too. It's like, even if no one enjoys listening to it, and for the millions of people that will never even hear this, it's whatever. Like I mean, granted, it is, we were talking about how it's a lot of work to kind of put this together, but once you kind of get into a rhythm and kind of outsource, like I have an editor, so I can like outsource a lot of the other issues with it, but then, doing the back end stuff for YouTube and all the podcasting stuff. Yeah, that's involved, but it's like, at the same time, it's like, I think it's worth it in the long run.
Definitely. It's like, it's like an invest. This whole thing is like an investment in yourself.
Exactly.
I think that's a lot of comedy is, which I don't think people understand.
No, they don't. Like, there's so many people that just like refuse to embrace social media, and I'm just like, all right, I guess we'll see you later, man.
Yeah, exactly. Good luck in the 80s.
Yeah. Hope you find a time machine.
Yeah, exactly. It's wild.
Yeah, so it's an issue, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool to see some of these comedy venues now just offering like a full-on podcast labs and like letting people kind of do their thing.
And there's all these networks that pop up, and
do you have any opinions on that?
I don't really know, honestly. I don't have much experience with that. I mean,
because I'm not on a network and I haven't been asked to be on one, so I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. But I'm just kind of chugging along.
I think a lot of it is there's like a lot of tiers to it. Obviously, it's like if you can get on a big network, obviously that's huge. I think it is in my mind. On paper, it probably is helpful because it's like you've got other podcasts cross promotion,
right.
And they probably have a studio. I know there's a lot of people that like have studios that all the podcasts record for one studio, and it's like I think it takes a lot of the weight. But also I think it's like you have to pay them, and if you're not making the money to be able to not even afford it, but if they're taking half of what you're making, it doesn't make much sense.
Yeah.
So until you're making enough money for it to be what's the word, feasible, I suppose, then it doesn't make sense. But I don't think there's.
Yeah, luckily money for me is not an issue, which I shouldn't say not an issue, but it's like at least it's one of my lesser concerns, especially in this comedy business, because it's like, can't imagine, man, if I was just like struggling to strum together $5 to do an open mic or like paid rent, let alone fucking, you name it. It's like, you know, but, yeah.
Yeah, but you got, you busted your ass and you.
See, but it's like my short-term memory is such a thing where like I don't even remember that shit. Like it doesn't.
That's great though. That's like almost that's like a good thing to have.
I guess, but it also makes me look like an asshole because people are just because people are meeting me now after I did all the hard stuff.
Right.
And to you, I just plopped in, hey, I'm an open micer, but I'm also living pretty good. It's like, it just doesn't compute. You know?
Yeah, but people are not. I don't know if it's jealous but people just see what they see and they don't think about anything past that. Like exactly what you said. It's like.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. Luckily, the comedy scene has been way better than I could have imagined as far as like how supportive it is and how open people are to just like being cool about it. Unless they're being total shitheads behind my back, which I'm sure there's a little bit of that too. But idiot, what it is.
No.
Nah, never. But it's just part of the lifestyle, I guess. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.